Good evening,
Okay.
everybody.
Hey, Councilman Brewer. All right, Mike, I'm ready.
Okay.
Go ahead and go.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for joining. Today is Thursday, May the 20th. I am Councilwoman Ty Adkins, Vice President of the Gary Common Council, as well as Chair of the Parks, Recreation, and Culture Committee. And I also represent the 4th District on the Gary Common Council. Tonight, we have two means of point for this particular meeting. The first is to address a resolution that was assigned to the committee, CPR 2021-05. And then the other is to have a park overview. We have worked collectively with all stakeholders who are involved with the City of Gary Parks to get some comprehensive information that we want to ensure that everyone is abreast on, and also want to make sure that the public is abreast in terms of the city plans to onboard our parks for this season. Joining me tonight are the following council members. My council members at large, Councilmember Mike Brown, who's also a member of this committee. Councilmember at large, Councilmember Ron Brewer. Council Representative of the 1st District and President of the Gary Common Council, William Godwin. Our 2nd District Councilman, Councilman Cozy Weatherspoon. Our Councilwoman of the 3rd District, Councilwoman Mary Brown. Council Representative of the 5th District, Councilwoman Linda Barnes Caldwell. And also our Council Representative of the 6th District, who's also a member of this committee, Councilman Dwight Williams. Along with the council members, we have our acting, not acting, well, yes, I will say acting. Acting Director of Parks, Ms. Dee Barber, is on with us, as well as our council attorney, Attorney Renzer Williams. Attorney McCain, Trent McCain is on here as well. And also additional, our park attorney, board attorney, Judge Deidre Rameau is here. And I believe that is it in terms of those key stakeholders related to this particular resolution, and also the presentation that we'll do later on. So CPR 2021-05 is a resolution of the Park Board of Commissioners of the City of Gary providing for a hearing and public comments on the increase in fees for Marquette and Lake Street beaches, parking, and boat launch. This resolution is sponsored by our mayor, Mayor Jerome A. Prince, City of Gary, and also listed as Eric Reeves, who was at that time the director of the parks. Ms. D, are you going to give the overview? Oh, no. Judge Monroe, will you be giving the overview?
I will.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilwoman Adkins, other council persons, city administration, deputy mayor, and our citizens at large that are on today. I'm giving the overview because of the that Mr. Reeves is unavailable today. This resolution is before you. The Gary Park Board is requesting permission to increase the fees for Marquette as well as Lake Street Beach. To my knowledge, the fees have not been increased for at least 5 years, possibly more than that. These fees are in line with the fees charged by neighboring beaches. Wall Street Beach is a little bit more, in fact. The amount collected will be used to maintain the beach, and that's for the ticket collectors, security, maintenance of the beach, disposal, grass cutting, boat launch, shelter upkeep, on and on. The fees are very important to the upkeep of Marquette Park as well as Lake Street. And in essence, that is why we're here today, requested the increase in fees.
Thank you, Judge. Council members, do you have any questions, comments related to the resolution?
Yes, Councilman Atkins, this is Councilman Brewer. I do have a question for the judge. Judge, do you all have what was the past projections that we received for Marquette and Lake Street, pretty much like for the last 3 years? I know we was affected by COVID last year. What we receive in revenue?
Yes, and I believe that Kamisha probably could give you a better number. I know that last year it was about 168,000, but of course that was because the Chicago beaches were closed. Usually it's about 90,000 a year, and Kamisha could probably update you. Ms. Jackson could probably give you a better number of the fees collected throughout the year.
That is correct. So last year, because of COVID, we had a lot of company coming this way, and it was $168,000. Now, the year before that, we did about $95,000, and prior to that, we did about $90,000. So it averaged between 90 and 95,000. What we do on a normal year. Of course, last year was different, so the revenue went up for us. But it's normally between 90 and 95,000.
So do you think having those automatic machines out there made a big difference in the collection?
Absolutely. Last year on the machines, we did 21,000 on the pay station machines, and the year prior to that, which was our first year, we did 11,000 on just those machines.
Okay. Are we looking to increase those out at the parks anywhere?
Yes, we are. If this passed, those machines will go to $10. A flat fee of $10.
To $10. But I'm saying, are we going to increase the pass throughout the park anywhere else? Because yes. I know right now we still have ticket takers that's out there. So what I was asking, are we planning to put any other machines anywhere else on the park?
Oh, not now.
Not now.
We are looking to do some later, but not this year.
And are we still accepting cash, or is everything card out there from the takers?
Yes, we will still accept cash payments.
Okay. So how are we doing that far as the cash payments? Is there a receipt out that we're keeping tally on?
Yes, there is. And this year we have new handheld machines. So when we collect the cash, we actually get to insert it into the machine. It print out a ticket. We give the ticket, the portion to the client. It goes in their car, and we keep the other half. And at the end of the day, it prints out everything. It gives you a total of everything from the credit and the cash.
Okay.
And we were not able to do that before, so.
Okay, that works for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. I do have I guess a comment for discussion, but I'm probably overthinking this. So if I am, just let me know. So I'm looking at the verbiage or the language that's in the resolution, and it does speak to Exhibit 1. However, what's attached is just a memo that does list the fees. It's a memo on Eric Reed's letterhead. I guess I'm thinking that maybe we should do an official fee schedule as the attachment versus this memo that actually speaks to it being Exhibit 1, because the memo doesn't list that this is Exhibit 1, even though we reference Exhibit 1 in the language of the resolution. And then also the line in the memo, this one probably is a question. It says approval of fees for 2021 and 2022. So do our fees just stay in place, right, until we revisit? But we don't speak about it being only for 2 years in the language of the resolution. You know what I mean? So I don't know if I'm overthinking that or not, Judge, but.
Well, actually, we started on this last year in 2020, so we can attach Exhibit A. The board actually approved it last year, and the fees cannot change unless you guys, unless we come to you and ask that the fee be increased. So we can change that language to just say the fee will continue until we come before the board and ask for until it's approved by the Common Council at another date. So that can be changed.
Okay. And then we can do the fee schedule and then name that Exhibit 1 so it can be referenced appropriately. Okay. Thank you, Judge.
And I would have changed it, but because Eric was out, I didn't want to, go and change the memo that he had officially addressed and sent to you guys.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Council members, any additional questions, comments? Councilwoman Brown, you talking to me? You on mute.
Okay, I'm sorry. So what are we actually doing in terms of parks other than Marquette? what are we doing?
We're going to go over that in the next section.
Oh, okay, next session.
I have
Okay.
some vital information for you. I think you'll be proud.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Council members, any other comments? Okay, it says a public hearing, public comments. I'm going to ask if there's anyone from the public who's on here that want to have any comments. I'm going to ask again. Okay, great. We're going to move on. So thank you. And Judge and members of the board who are on, we'll be sure to review this at the next council meeting and just make sure that we get the updated version of it for, I think the next public meeting will be June the 1st at 6 p.m. Via Zoom.
And if I could, Council Lady, can I ask Mr. Williams, did we need to change it, or is that something that you guys can amend? What is the best way forward or format forward?
Attorney Williams?
Yes, I'm here. Amend what? I'm sorry.
So there was a, I guess, a request for us just to, I guess, remove the memo and then attach a formal fee schedule and refer to that as Exhibit 1 as the language as listed in the actual resolution speaks to an Exhibit 1. So currently right now, what is attached is a memo from Eric Reeves, which has like what the new fees will be and not, but it's not labeled Exhibit 1. So just from a continuity standpoint, I had asked if we could attach Exhibit 1 as the fee schedule with these new rates.
Yeah, there would need to be a motion to amend by substitution.
Okay.
That can happen, of course, on the floor.
Okay.
So Councilwoman Adkins, I will get that typed up by Ms. Reedus, and then we will label that as Exhibit 1 and send that over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Attorney Williams.
Councilwoman Atkins,
Yes, Councilman Brewer?
just for the public's sake, can we go over what the fee increases are at this time for the park?
The variances or just what the new rates are?
Yes, what the new rates are, where we at now and where we're planning on going to for the public's sake.
Okay, I don't know the variances, but I can tell you what the current fees are. Does anyone from the park department have what the initial rates are and versus, we have the new, but I don't have what the initial fees are.
I have the prior fees.
Okay. Judge, would you mind going over that for the public?
Okay. For Marquette, the parking fees were resident was $5. We're asking that it be increased to $8. Visitor was $7. That will be increased to $10. Season pass was $60. That will be increased to $75. That was for resident. Visitor was $65. That will be increased to $100. The weekend pass was $25. That will be increased to, make sure I have this one right, $55. The visitors will be increased to $65. Buses were $25, and they're going to be, it depends on the size, and that will be increased from $50 to $75. Mobile homes will be increased to $50, and they were $35 for residents. Visitors were $30, and that will be increased to $65. That's for Marquette. Now you want me to go through Lake Street also?
Yes, please.
Okay. Lake Street, pretty similar. Gary residents will be $8 for a car. For Lake County residents, it'll be $10 for a car. For visitors, it'll also be $10. For a trailer, because of the boat launch, for a Gary resident, that will be from $10 to $15. Lake County from $12 to $17, and visitors from $15 to $20. Season passes went up from $60 to $125. For Lake County residents, it went from $65 to $135. For visitors, it went from $75 to $150. Weekend passes went from, for residents, from $25 for a car to $40. For visitors, from $35 to to 50 for a car. For residents with a trailer, it went from 60 to 75 for a car. And for visitors, it went from 80 to 100. For buses, it went from 25 to 50. So I guess it depended on the size of the bus, up to a flat fee of 100. And for visitors, it went up to 150. For trailers for a resident, it went from 20 to 30. And for visitors, from 25 to 40.
Thank you, Judge. Any other questions, comments, concerns, or requests?
Madam Chair,
President Godwin?
thank you. Thank you, Judge Monroe, and as well, Ms. Barber. I just want to generally say I'm glad to see these fee increases, especially for visitors. I think even these increases, in many cases, are very modest. I think we've been underselling ourselves. Anyone who's seen the parking situation sees that the supply is low and the demand is high, and price should always follow demand. And so I think that we should continue to monitor this and put it on an increased schedule, because there's nowhere in this area where you can sit out at the beach all day and park your car at these rates. Thank you.
Thank you, President Godwin. Great, see no other comments. Councilman Brewer?
That is a good point that Councilman Godwin just made. And I never thought about that. You can't sit out for pretty much all day and pretty much keep the two companies they make it all day event. I would just like for the administration to put that on their radar, that we can consider looking at some type of meter and system out there where we can meter by the hour out there, the fee rate going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Brewer. Okay, so we are going to move along. So over the last couple of months within our public meetings, our Ways and Means meeting has changed to a park meeting. And so we thought that it will be very beneficial for us to set out some time to really just kind of align with all members of, I guess I would say, the nucleus that make up the city who support parks or are attached to the parks, to make sure that we are aligned in terms of what's going on, what's the plan in the future, and all that good stuff. And so a plan of action that I've taken as the chair of this committee was to work with our internal stakeholders, Ms. D. Barbara, Attorney McCain, as well as Kamisha Jackson, Raven Reedus, and Raven Hall, all members who are associated with the parks under the City of Gary administration, to understand and put together a comprehensive overview, if you will. And so that we could have structure, I did bring up a PowerPoint presentation. I will lead in terms of giving us a segue into the topics, but of course, those members of the City of Gary team who are leading these efforts will chime in and give us more detail and answer any council members' questions at that time, if applicable, okay? So I am going to share my screen as soon as I could figure it out. Just want to confirm, are you guys seeing my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, okay, very good. And so this is just, you know, I'm going to give a disclaimer, a tentative review of our 2021 season for the parks. So the topics that we're going to discuss today, we're going to do a review over the CPO 2021-16, which has been in discussion for a number of weeks now. This is the ordinance that is technically in Ways and Means, but to discuss the land sale for those particular properties that was in the preferral of the Calumet River Basin, and then that revenue was then brought into the Parks Department, which equated $166,000. And then we have been discussing just the appropriation of that to the Parks Department, and then in those discussions, the use has came up. And so we will review in detail what the updated plan is related to that. We will also give you guys information in terms of what the year-to-date plan is for the parks overall in terms of maintenance, equipment readiness. Councilman Brewer, I know you have asked specifically about what type of equipment does the park currently have, so we was able to extract that information and present it today. And then for the sake of sanity in the community. We know the mosquitoes get really bad in our city, and so we did want to make sure that we were proactive in getting that information and providing that to the public. Next, we will do an update in terms of the pavilion. So Councilwoman Brown, I know this is near and dear to your heart, so we do have an update in terms of what the City of Gary Department of Community Development is doing to support the pavilions. And then also Councilman Williams, we do have some information related to Howell Park, located in the 6th District, and then Ironwood Park also has a separate initiative that I can give some brief information on as well. Members of the Marquette Park Pavilion staff is here, Kamisha Jackson, and I also seen Officer Simon Lilly. And so we will get some information if they would like to give in terms of the beach readiness plan. And then we do have a new member on the team. I don't think that he's been officially introduced to the Gary Common Council staff, as well as the Gary Common Council members. But the new executive director of the Youth Service Bureau will be joining us, and he will give us an update in terms of the plans for the summer and then his vision for YSB moving forward. And then also the Hudson Campbell, if we have some information that we think is pertinent to deliver, we'll do that, and then we'll take questions and comments and concerns. All right, so CPO 2021-16. Again, I've already given that brief overview, and I'm going to let Ms. D. Barber chime in at this point to give an overview in terms of what she's done since she's been on board over the last, 3 weeks now, Ms. D, I think it is, that you've been drinking from a water hose as it relates to Parks Department. But as you guys know, a moment of, discussion week over week has been the use and how we were going to allocate these funds. And so Ms. D has kind of did a reallocation towards the 166, and I would like for her to kind of go over that.
Hey, good evening, Council. As you know, we were talking about before doing the 5 ATVs. I have reallocated, and we took the ATVs to 3. That was so that we could do some other things in some of the other parks. I did work with police, and those vehicles are adequate. They are adequate, and so are the accessories. So I have worked with the police department. I thank Brian Colbert and Chief Evans much. Also, I didn't, the life jackets, they remain the same. So let's talk about the Can-Am Defender Pro. What that was a side-by-side emergency vehicle, so I did not remove that vehicle. I worked with Fire Chief O'Donnell, and he pulled it up for me, looked at it, and that was another item that we really needed for emergency rescue. The only thing you'll see here that was removed with the beach items, and that was we removed the jet ski. The jet ski was not quite what we really needed. It wouldn't meet our real needs. And I'm not sure if Chief Evans is there, but he could comment a little bit about that if he is. But what happens is we actually needed a side-by-side type of jet ski. And right now they do have one that's out there. And we kind of felt the one that had been chosen would be more of a little hindrance of loading it, getting it loaded. If it's at the water and it comes loose, it floats. So we just kind of thought we would need to remove that item currently and maybe bring it back with some more thought next season. Everything else here remains the same as far as the accessories. But if you go down to with the camera and American Eagle, the camera and alarm system, that's something that currently is not had at Hudson Campbell. And I'm going to let Christine just chime in on and she's here with me, I'm sorry. She's going to just chime in on the alarm system, why there's a need for
it. There's no type of surveillance. There's no cameras. There's no alarms. If you have ever been over there, there are numerous doors. So,
I'm sorry, Christine, if you're speaking, I can barely hear you. You probably need to come closer to the computer so we can hear you through the mic.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, start over. The Hudson Campbell had more work done to it, it's been renovated, but there's no type of surveillance system at all. There's no cameras. The building is a large size, so there could be things going on. And we can't see. You can't see any of the crevices, the hallways. We have numerous doors that, we can't lock them so they could come, you can open them from the inside. And so people have been opening doors and there's no type of alarm. There's no burglary system or anything. So if something was to happen or somebody was to come in, there's no way to monitor the system.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Williams.
So then you go down to, we asked for some rims for the Hudson Camel. We pretty much know that it is a large use over there. The other item I did was we reduced the ATVs, and this is where we look at other items for the different parts. There are some shelters that need repair. And I know sometimes we can't use the pavilions, but they should be able to use shelters. We need to rebuild some of the shelters. Some of them need a roof put on. Some of them may need boats, nuts and bolts. But we just want to redo some of the shelters at the different parks. We did go out, and I don't think we completed the list, but we will send it to you of which shelters we want to repair. Okay. You'll see a maintenance tool set, impact drill, the commercial edger, handheld blower. Those are things that the parks team would use. I mean, they can't get anything done if they don't have those items there. So we needed to put those items in for that park staff. There are a few things that work maintenance inside of the pavilions that they may need to do. They need to have a tool to work with. Operational needs, you'll see where that is. What the operational needs were. Say, for instance, I couldn't go out and I tried to price every single thing as close as I could get it for you. There were some items, I think we were talking about maybe doing something with the basketball courts. It won't be every court, but some of the courts at the parks. Those are things it takes time to get estimates and to really get accurate information for. And then for operational needs, maybe we need, maybe the staff needs to have something done there. So in the pavilion or at the park, one thing I am looking at is trash cans for the park. So we just put that little bit in operational needs so that we could afford to buy something that was needed. We will always tell you what was purchased and what parks it was designated to. I do know that they are asking me for trash cans over at Ambridge for cleanup they're happening, and they need to be replaced. I have said, okay, we'll look at the trash cans. Well, I have to get those out of operational needs probably. But we want to make sure that they're the correct cans. And I did say, we'll get them for you, but they will not happen on the 29th with the cleanup. So that's kind of what their operational needs bucket is for. Then at Tolleson, and I guess this is my favorite part to make Councilwoman Brown happy. So I know Tolleson is part of a big project, but Arlene Colvin will talk about that piece. But what we need to do is there's going to be a summer feed program in Tolleson. Tolleson has some issues with a few leaks with the roof. So we don't want to redo a lot of work where they're going to rehab something for you. But I do need to patch, do some tile work, take care of some plumbing issues so that we can get that up and ready for you for the summer feed program. Okay. Contractors with the cutting of the grass. So let me say this. Parks has about 4 people that cut grass. They're not able to handle all of that. So they have a bi-week cut schedule. So my ideal here is to take some money, and that's why we set aside that $10,000. We kind of do that on the public works side, where we'll get contractors and they'll help cut. And maybe we assign those bi-weekly parks that get cut to those contractors. So it's just then you have the generator. You're gonna ask me, why do they need a generator? Well, some of their items are electric that they use out in the park. So instead of saying, okay, the battery's gone down, there's nowhere to charge it, they have a generator so they can keep it working. So that was my purpose in reallocating what I think is a better use of how the funds are divided. We do have some of the ATVs already. So I think even getting the 3 new would work well.
Thank you, Ms. D. Barbara. Is there any other member of the City of Gary administration that wants to speak specifically about this ordinance?
Yes, I would. If I
Go
may.
ahead, Chief.
Hi.
Hey.
I just want to speak about the necessity of the equipment, especially the ATVs. The ATVs that we do have we have two 2009 ATVs and the other four are 2010. So they're 11 years old. We utilize them 90% of the time at Marquette Park, which is in the sand, in the rut, because they're the only vehicles capable for our personnel to get up and down the beach. You remember, we're going from beyond Lake Street all the way to Wells, which is over a mile. And at any time, the officers that are there could be called upon to respond to anywhere in that area, anywhere in between. These Polaris sportsmen would replace or enhance that need. They're fully capable of doing everything that we would need them to do, because of that other 10% of the time that we utilize the ATVs are for search and rescues. We have used them in the swampy areas in the cities, in Terrytown, out by the J Pit, searching for people, searching for evidence where we just can't walk. And these vehicles are actually more capable than what we have. They're a lot more powerful. I did also have Commander Colbert check with Sam Roberts to make sure these items didn't have a state QPA possibility. We actually talked to him today, and he says he has never done these type of vehicles or this type of things on the state QPA. He says he's not going to say 100% that it couldn't be done, but he has never done it, and that's what we utilize. We also checked the price from them, removed some equipment that made them a little bit more pricey, for some of the things that we need on the red and blue lights, the boxes for the life jackets and everything else. So these vehicles are used in that type of way. And what we do is we patrol the beach, as you know, and we respond to situations where we have to either escort someone out the beach or some type of emergency. The jet ski, and I totally agree with Director Ms. Barber, that is something which was aspirational, because in the times where we've had someone drown at Marquette Park, the one thing that we're waiting on is for a watercraft to come to begin a search and rescue. The officers are needed to keep people out of the water, because when someone is down, the inclination of the public is to get in the water themselves, and that can be just as dangerous as the person we're looking for. Unfortunately, in our last air show, we had 2 drownings. The 2 people who drowned were not the people that were initially in trouble. Those were 2 people that went into the water to help the people get out. And so that was an aspiration for that, but I completely agree. We can wait on that when we reassess it and get something that's more conducive, more of a side-by-side, where we can have a person on it and we can actually save someone with it.
Thank you, Chief Evans. Council members, do you have any questions or comments about what was just presented?
Well, yeah, I do.
Councilwoman Brown?
Okay. I see that you have repair of shelters at all parks. Tell me what you're doing with that. What does that mean to me?
Okay, so some of the shelters need a roof, for instance. Some of them need nuts and bolts. Some of them need a piece of wood replaced. So it's not to buy a new shelter. I wish I could, but I don't have any money for a new. But we would do the best we can to make everything usable. And some things should just be a certain standard. So that's why we're saying, if they're going to be there, let's go out there and fix them.
And also, Councilwoman, Ms. D. Barber stated that they're still in the process of identifying all of which will be included into that repair strategy. And once that is complete, that she'll ensure that the council has that information.
Absolutely.
Ms. Chair? Ms. Chair Lady? Councilman Weatherspoon.
There we go. Councilman Weatherspoon. I couldn't see it's on the side. Okay.
Ms. Barber, I got a laundry list of questions here that I'd like to ask, of course. So I hope you're prepared, and I hope you got your note pen out. First thing, just a little clarity. I'm hearing you talk about shelters. You mean actual shelters. You're not talking about pavilions. When you
no, I'm talking about the actual shelters.
Okay, you're not talking about the
not
shelters.
The pavilions. No.
Park shelters. Okay.
Now, is there anything going on as it relates to Brunswick Pavilion? Of course, we need a roof there. And then at Borman Square's pavilion is a wreck. Just wondering if you have anything there that we're looking at. Also, one other thing that I want to talk about, or I'd like for you to talk about, is that we have a number of volunteers that are working in the parks. These were individuals that were that adopted the park under the prior administration. And for example, we have Mr. Dunlap, who is running the Brunswick Community Center. He's not an employee, but he's running the community center, doing a fairly good job. But there are some other questions, as you know, with him making a profit there. We have Mr. Jeff Edwards, who is a volunteer doing a very good job in Reese Park. My question overall, do you have a list of those volunteers? We had an issue where we had Ambridge Man, where we had a volunteer group that was there, ladies in charge. They were removed. That pavilion, of course, was turned into some type of a homeless shelter. And it's a wreck right now. Furthermore, it's been run into several times, you know, by vehicles. Wondering, is there a plan on repairing that? What I'd also like to know is, coming up out of this pandemic, what kind of post-COVID protocol do we have for going back into these pavilions? You know, even though people are getting vaccinated, you know, COVID is still very much alive. And how are we going to handle that? Could you speak on those issues, please?
Okay, so currently, let me start with the COVID cleaning. Parks technically has a half of a staff person, maintenance-wise. So that's something we need to look at, a plan, before you start to say we're going to open the pavilions, because you have to have that staff to go in and clean those pavilions. This is day 14 for me and Councilman. That is something that we will look at. I mean, a half a person can't clean everything for COVID in a pavilion. So we are looking at that to see what we do and what we can open. For instance, they're having the feed program. Well, I'm sure there are going to be certain things in place where they're having Tolliston Pavilion, so we'll make the arrangements for what happens. And I just think some people that have these pavilions are going to use them. They will also have to partner to ensure COVID guidelines are met. It should not be totally all on the city. As it relates to the volunteers that you spoke about that have some of the pavilions, or they have use of the pavilions, some people have told me, well, I've adopted a park. What we've done, and after this meeting is over, basically next Monday, we start, give me a list of those. I have not seen any of that in writing. Who has what? You know, you have to start with history before you can move forward. So we will address who has that. Did they have anything in writing? What was the term? So there are a lot of things to look at with volunteers at the pavilions. As it relates to Brunswick, I won't comment on the person that's using it. I'm aware, but not totally familiar with the details or what the arrangement was. I believe that right now that person, to my knowledge, I was told they were not back at Brunswick yet, because he would send notice before he started that program again. As it relates to Ambridge, I think you will hear Arlene Colvin talk about that. There are some plans for Ambridge. And I know everybody that had pavilions, they had use of pavilions for different clubs, activities. We just need to reassess all of that. We're not saying that they can't have it, but just let's take a real look at it and see what it means. If you say y'all want to adopt a park, what does that really mean? With the pavilions, what does that mean? Like you said, if they're running a for-profit, there should be some type of arrangement. So we are looking at those things, Council.
Just one other thing, just to put in your notes, we need lights in Brunswick inside. As you know, even though we don't have an election this year, it is used as a polling place, and we could use some lights in there, in particular in the gym.
Okay, so as it relates to the lights in the gym, I have called out an electrician for a quote already. That money is put in operational needs, because I don't know what that quote exactly is going to be. But I have called an electrician to give us a quote for that.
Thank you, please. Thank you much. Appreciate it.
Ms. Barber?
Yes.
This is Councilman Williams.
Wait. So, Councilman
Yes.
Williams, I will allow you to ask your question and make your comment, but I want to say this first. So, council members, there is a presentation where Ms. D. Barber has provided us with an abundance of information that speaks to parks, pavilions, across the districts, right? And so if the question is specific to what has been presented at this time, I would like to entertain that, so that we can get through the rest of the presentation, because your question, as if it's specific to anything outside of this, might be addressed in the additional information that she's already provided. Thank you. Councilman Williams.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Barber, we spoke about some issues taking place at Howell Pavilion. Is this the correct setting for you to respond, or should I meet you at your office?
You can meet me at my office, but we will give you a little bit of information as it relates later to Howell Park.
Okay,
We
thank
have
you.
some for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, council members. So I'm going to move along. And so again, this is the year to date, as Ms. Barber has stated, she is 14 days into the role. And so in April, I think it was the 22nd, I did meet with the previous leader of the park department to get some information. And at that time, we did not have a comprehensive cutting schedule. And so Ms. D. Barber, I do want to commend you and the team for getting this together for us to present today. And I will do a brief overview, but if there's anything specific that I missed that you want to add in, please do. And just so council members, currently right now, you know, we have 54 parks for the 54 square miles of the city of Gary, right? And so what the department, with the limited resources, have attempted to do, we're going to try to focus on what we call the tier 1 and tier 2 parks across the city on a bi-weekly and weekly schedule. So there's about 11 parks that will hit on a weekly basis, and that is at the top of the schedule that is shown. And then we have about 13 parks, which were probably more of our tier 2 parks that will be assessed on a bi-weekly schedule. Also included in this information, we'll let you guys know what district the park is located in, as well as the pickup schedule for the trash. You all have received this information as well in your inbox, so you could see it in a bigger format if it's not that clear here. Also provided for us was the information that we will pick up about 8 seasonal workers to make sure that we have enough hands on deck to tackle over the summer. And then also we currently have 4 full-time workers. And so we believe that that might be the right assessment, along with, if you guys saw on the first slide, there is a plan to try to have some outsourcing and do some subcontracting to kind of help us as well to keep up on the schedule. Are there any questions related to this particular slide?
Yes. You do have the round address for Junebell Park in the 6th district.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sure the team knows how to get there though, but Ms. D. Barber, if you want to just take
make the note.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Jeff Edwards real quick with Gary Community Partnership.
I'm sorry, 1 second. Any other council members that have any questions or comments related to what has been shown? Okay, Mr. Edwards, I'll entertain your comment at this time.
Yeah, I just wanted a bit of clarity. You said tier 1 and tier 2. I'm looking on this sheet and I don't see that breakdown. So
that breakdown, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You can proceed with the balance of your statement.
Oh no, go ahead. I just wanted to understand what that looks like.
So years ago, there was a comprehensive plan for the parks, for the City of Gary parks, which you can be found on our City of Gary website under the Park Department's subpage, where we have already completed a park assessment. This was done probably in 2012. And so that language speaks to how our parks were classified, if you will. So you could take a look at that information again. That's on the Gary.gov site under Parks and Recreation, and it is the Gary Park Master Plan.
Okay, thank you. And between those two, that's encompassing all 54 parks or 56 parks.
It's actually more breakdowns than that, but I'm just addressing the tier 1 and tier 2 in this conversation. But yes, all 54 parks are in the master plan.
Thank you.
I'm going to move ahead. Again, a part of the park readiness plan, Councilman Brewer, this is for you. I know in one of our conversations you asked for a comprehensive list in terms of what equipment we currently have. So Ms. D, if you want to just kind of give a quick overview of this, and then I guess speak to specifically our plan to get what's out of service in service, if that makes sense.
Okay, so actually, if you had saw this probably 14 days ago,
right,
where you see the orange was probably in the green. So we utilize in-house some of the people of vehicle maintenance who are our mechanics and can do some of the small engine repairs. So what we did do was get up a lot of the lawnmowers up and running Because basically when I came into parks, they had one more that was running and it needed blades. So now they are up to 5. There are a couple of more that they have, and all they needed were like belts and batteries. So Don is looking at those currently. And I think it was something they had down here that a trimmer needs a head. Well, we're ordering those parts so we can go ahead and repair those and put those back into place. Also on the allocation sheet, you saw where they needed a couple of blowers, they needed some edgers. So we're just trying to get basically what they need. You'll see that they do have a lot in service now that really wasn't in service 14 days ago.
Thank you. Council members, any questions related to the equipment? And again, this file was attached in the email that you all received prior to the meeting.
So
and I
with the
can't see who made that comment. That's Councilman Brewer?
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm driving. I don't know if you can hear me.
No, I think it's on my screen. It's only showing me 3 people, but go ahead.
Okay. So with the equipment that we do have, what is the number of manpower that we have to operate this equipment?
Well, you only have 4, as I said, in 4 parks, but then we're bringing on the 8 seasonal. Okay, so you will have enough people to operate the equipment.
Okay. So I guess I need to go back just a little bit. When you talk about the tier 1 and a tier 2 park, what can we expect with a tier 1 park?
So that, I mean, don't harp on that, council members. That information was based on a plan that was done for the city. And if you want to read the plan, of course I did, but you can read the plan. It's about 60-some pages. No, it's 160-some pages. And it actually breaks down each park. It tells you about, it's more so associated with the location, the acreage, the amenities of the park. That is how the assessment was done from this group. It was done by the Epley Foundation that assessed and classified the city of Gary parks based on those particular qualifications. Again, that particular document is located on our City of Gary website, gary.gov, under the parks header. And it's a comprehensive document that it also actually gave us recommendations in how we can enhance those particular parks. And so that's the reason for it, but it's no, that's it. That's the only reason why.
Okay. So what can we expect out of our park? Or have we identified certain parts, like the question I asked before, jewel parks? Have we identified certain parts that we know we can really maintain to a level that we'll all be pleased to say this is a park that you can visit in any neighborhood, in any district? Have we identified those parks?
So, Councilmember, I'm going to give you my opinion, but I'll let the City of Gary Park Department give them theirs. I believe the ones that we're focusing on maintaining this summer are the ones that we feel that is within reach for us to have up and running online on board for resident use, which is a total of 24. It's 11 at the top of the schedule that we just showed, and then 13 at the balance, and so that's 24 parks out of the 54. And those parks, I'll just name them. I think you're in the car, so I'm pretty sure you're not looking. So it's Gateway Park, Tolleson, Roosevelt, Brunswick, Patcher, Ironwood, Reed, Buffington, Glen Ryan, Carolina, Hatcher, the Peppermint, Borman Square, in terms of just maintaining the cutting, I would say, right? Ambridge, East Glen Park, Junedale, Pittman. I think this is Reed. No. Reed.
Reese, R-E-E-S.
With this Fifth and Lincoln, Howe, and then Gibson. So that is, I would say, like outside use, right? But then there's also a complete different conversation as it relates to the use of the pavilion. And so that those targeted locations are a lot more slim. And so that discussion will happen later on as if we can proceed through the presentation. There's a couple that the community development department is helping us support, us being the park department, to get on board. Does that answer?
Can I just comment one councilwoman? And I will reach out to each council person shortly within next week and ask you what your park of choice will be. So you will be included.
Yeah, the Jewel Park concept was, I think, the concept that was brought to the council last summer by our former leader in the park department, right? But I think, to your point, Councilman Brewer, the formulation in terms of, well, what makes a park a Jewel Park? I don't think that was developed. It was more so, well, what council member, you pick a park that you want to just for us to kind of invest resources in to get on board. But I think that that whole concept was not truly developed as it relates to a true strategy for the city of Gary. That's my, I guess, opinion more so, in terms of what I've been able to investigate for the last couple of months.
Well, I guess my whole thing about this whole thing with parks, I want to see where we get parks where we're throwing dollars at them when we're seeing a real positive result at it. We're just not throwing dollars at it and we're just making it halfway, I should say, just halfway. But I want to see a complete park. I mean, I talked about these different things where we got benches out there. You got working swings and backboards out there. These are things that we should have inside the park. So that's why I asked about the jewel parks. How we identify these parts that we're saying these are the parts that we're working toward. 24 is a big number for us to try to hit with a crew of that number. That's a big number, and I'm concerned.
And I'm sure that they've taken your concerns. And so, Ms. D, we could, try to follow up and try to address that moving forward. Again, this is only her second week in this position, and prior to then, much of nothing was done. And so, as the chair of this committee, I could assure that I'm working in tandem with them and supporting them as best as I can, and helping us get more output, not just giving them input, right? And so we could get back to the council once that true strategy is in play.
Madam Chair.
Councilman Weatherspoon.
When we talk about this jewel park idea and this priority park idea, what I like to do, as opposed to looking at it in the form of districts, we look at it in the form of territory. We break the territories down other than in districts because, we have parks in certain locations, and because you have a jewel park maybe or a priority park in the center of one district, doesn't mean it services, other areas. So I'm just asking, as we move forward, that we look at this, not necessarily in terms of districts, but in terms of location, where these parks are actually located, to look and hope that maybe they can be centered in a way where people can have accessibility to them without having to go a long ways. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so a part of our parks being, I guess, somewhat ready for use or for activity, we have to make sure that we have some type of handle on the mosquitoes. As we know, we do have intense mosquito activity. And so we did receive this information from the City of Gary Health Department in terms of what the schedule will be. So beginning June the 7th, there will be the mosquito spraying taking place across the city. Their schedule is based on what they call sections of the city. And just for reference for council members, I did try to associate it with the relative districts. So beginning on June the 7th, again, I'll repeat that. And so Monday, the targeted focus will be the 2nd and 3rd districts. Tuesday will be the 6th, 5th, and 3rd. Wednesday will be the 4th, 5th, and other parts of the 3rd district. Thursdays will be the 4th district, the balance of the 4th, and then the balance of the 2nd district. And on Fridays will be the 1st district, the entire 1st district. All right. So for this particular section, for months, Attorney Colvin has presented to us that there was some funding, and I believe it was CBGD funds under the Department of Community Development that the administration did decide to support and utilize towards the parks, specifically the pavilions. We've already got some information from Ms. D. Barber related to Tolliston Pavilion in terms of doing, I would say, patchwork, right? Just to get it ready for June for that summer feed program. However, there was an abundance of other things that needed to be done, Councilwoman Brown, to fully get your pavilion up and running. And so what I did receive from community development was information about the assessment that has been done thus far. And again, I believe what they did was just try to assess which pavilions had the most probability of being 100% utilized based on the resources that they have. And from that, I believe one is missing, but we have not received an assessment from the leader at this time, who the project lead, which I thought I had on here, is Ivan Gregory, who's doing this. And so here's just some key information for you guys. The targeted pavilions is Tolleson, Roosevelt, and Glen Ryan that has been identified thus far. And I also want to say Ambridge Man. But I think that they're still waiting to get some additional information as to what is needed for Ambridge Man. Right now, there is about 234K that has been identified and allocated to support these initiatives. And this is the breakdown in terms of what the assessment that Ivan has already done and found to be in need of repair at each particular pavilion. So I'm not going to, Tolleson Park right now, they're saying about 90K, Roosevelt about 80K, Glen Ryan about 65K in terms of the estimated funding that will be required to take care of these specific things. Anything that's on the, again, you all have this information in the email. There is asterisks by some of the identified needs. And as it was stated to us, those particular things need additional funding. And so, for example, the pool repair at Roosevelt, the team is still working to obtain additional funding to support that, but they did identify that as something that needs to happen, as well as the exterior lighting for the parking lot at Tolleson Park, or Tolleson Pavilion, the parking lot area adjacent to the pavilion. I did ask on behalf of the council, what will be the next steps? Since they've assessed some of those pavilions, what will be the next step at this particular time? And so it was worthy to note that no spending of these HUD funds can take place prior to the State Historic Preservation Office giving approval of the environmental assessments that has been done on these locations. Attorney Colvin did note that the approval period is about 45 days. And so the estimate for us to hear back is from mid to the end of June. However, we are still parallel pathing, I guess, an additional step that will have to take place, which will be preparing the bid specs for the scope of work that's needed. It has been identified for all of these pavilions, and also ensuring that we advertise appropriately. And then they anticipated the work to commence late June to early August. Again, there was still completing the assessment on Ambridge Man, and so we do not have, as of today, that information. However, they did ensure that they would provide that back to the chair of the committee, myself, and I would distribute that among council members once it's received. Ms. D. Barbara or Attorney Colvin, I'm not sure if she's on. Is there anything else that you all want to add on?
I just wanted to add something, Councilwoman, with regard to Ambridge Man. That is a pavilion that, as Councilman Weatherspoon mentioned earlier, that has really suffered a lot of damage. And at this point, our assessment is at about 200,000 and counting, because we're still trying to do the assessment with regard to the wall. So that's not in where it was hit, as you mentioned earlier, a couple of times by vehicles. And we're also looking at what we can do to provide a barrier that will prevent people from being able to hit the building in the future. So that's something that has to be examined. Also, when he mentioned earlier about damage within the building, one of the things that happened last winter was there was a stripping of some of the HVAC equipment that was in the building. So this is a very, very costly pavilion to actually repair. And it's going to take a significant amount of money. So I just want to make that clear, because that will certainly eat into our resources in terms of bringing that back online. The other couple of pavilions that we're also looking at is Ironwood and Carolina. So we're doing assessments on those. Those assessments have not started because Ivan is just working on Ambridge at this point. But we will be doing that as soon as we get done with Ambridge.
Thank you,
This-
Attorney Colvin. Councilman Weatherspoon?
As it relates to the assessments, I haven't heard anything mentioned of Brunswick Park and Brunswick Pavilion, which is heavily used. And we have a flooding issue there every time it rains. And this roof issue has gone back some time. So just wondering and hoping that can be added to the equation.
I could put Brunswick on the list.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other council members, any questions, comments? Okay, Councilman Williams, you up next. All right. So there were two, I would call them like major park initiatives that I've learned of since I became the chair of this committee. One of them was Howell Park, that give credit when credit is due. Former Councilwoman Levita Sparks Wade did take rein on and got support from our county officials, both on the commissioner side as well as our county side, to support the, I would say, redevelopment and reestablishment of Howell Park, as well as Ironwood Park. And so I wanted to spend this time to provide information to Councilman Williams in terms of, I guess, the status and what we've learned as it relates to Howell Park. Ms. D, you wanna try? It's a lot to unpack here, so that's the hesitation. But we have, within the last, I would say, 72 hours, I've got some great insight from former Councilwoman. I've shared that with Ms. Dee's Barber. I've talked to Commissioner Allen today. He's given me some good insight. We've shared that. But Ms. Dee, do you want to give some information related to how?
So I think Councilman Williams, the right ideal is for you to sit down with us to really go through what that whole plan was. It's a lot of information, but it's enlightening. And I think it's best if you could we could arrange to all meet and just sit down and you could look at the documents that we're looking at to understand what was actually going on in Howell Park, what was supposed to happen in Howell Park, and what happened in Howell Park.
And maybe I could say this too, just for the public. One of the main pieces, I guess I want them to know that the lack of traction is not due to the project just falling apart. I think it's just more so, would it be in a new administration, new people involved, us just not really knowing where the pieces of the puzzles were at and who was involved and what was the players and how it's set up. There was a lot of, it's set up differently, right? And so we wanted to make sure that we understood that, and then Councilman Williams will lead this effort with the city, and we'll get re-engagement from Attorney McCain and Mayor Prince to be able to move it forward. Oh, and also I would say the GC Powers and Sons as well, to move it forward.
I have a question.
Proceed, Councilman Williams.
Can we bring Taggy into that meeting as well?
He's a stakeholder.
Okay, because he and I have been meeting for quite a bit, trying to figure out what we were supposed to do as far as with the plans, because the plans included a splash pad. It also included basketball courts and other items. And I spoke with the mayor recently about the cement that's been broken up on the property. It's been sitting out there for almost 2 years or more. And we need to look at how we can remove that, because I know if I was a resident living across the street from the park, I'd be tired by now looking at that broken up cement coming out of my front door.
So let me comment a little bit on the cement. We took some pictures. We went out yesterday and took pictures of that cement. I have engaged AJ with redevelopment, which has demolition, to see what we could help remove, even if it's just removing it from where the court area is. There's a lot of concrete. It's a lot, but we are engaged with demolition to see what they can help do. I am just not sure. I'm thinking that we're going to need some outside help for that. And then what we pick up with demolition, how do we dispose of it? So we're trying to find out what we have as funding between for parks to dispose of the cement. You have to take it somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so when can we offline? We can plan a meeting? Okay, thank you.
We have a lot for you.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, a lot of information.
Thank you, Councilman Williams. And so I'll just do Ironwood briefly. So Ironwood Park is probably one of the more prominent parks in the 4th District in terms of amenities. And so we have been contacted by outside stakeholders, specifically Indiana University Northwest, who wants to be a partner with the City of Gary, as well as myself and the City of Gary Park Department to engage and to help support getting this particular park online. And so again, this is another conversation that will happen outside of this meeting with the stakeholders from the City of Gary to create what that plan looks like and to engage Indiana University Northwest and the additional partners who have been identified in that proposal. And then we'll work together to get that in play. And again, this isn't a one and done. Parks is important as we see all players have to be involved, especially not only just us, the administration, us being the Gary Common Council, but also the Gary Park Department Board. And so we want to make sure that we do those 3 entities work together to specifically get these 2 major park initiatives moving forward this year. All right.
I have a question.
I could entertain questions. Oh yeah, Councilwoman Brown.
They're planning to have a food program at Tolston. Is that what I understand? Did I misunderstand that?
Yes, the summer lunch program. And I think they'll talk about that a little later in the presentation. That was something that was decided before I came on board. So we're trying to make that happen because it happens in June.
And if I may, Mr. Cedric is online. Council Lady Brown, if you want to later, he'll be able to address that.
Yeah, I have some questions about that.
Program.
And we have a section for Youth Service Bureau, Councilwoman Brown, in a couple of slides. And so Cedric will be on to kind of give us his spiel. So he might answer your question in his presentation.
Okay.
Okay. Team Marquette Park, you all are up next. Just wanted to get some information. Ms. D, I'm not sure if you were going to hand it over to Kamisha or Officer Lilly. I think this portion is just for us to ensure beach readiness. We part of the conversation earlier was to ensure that we got that vital life-saving equipment to support the active use of our beautiful asset of the City of Gary. So is there any other vital information that you think the public should know related to beach readiness? When will is the beach officially open? I don't know. Maybe that would be some good information, and anything related to the pavilion, Ms. Jackson, if you want to provide.
So the beach officially opened Saturday, May the 29th. So the beach is normally open between Memorial Day and Labor Day. The beach is open. It will be open 7 days a week, except for inclement weather. Both beaches have a ticket booth, and you will have a ticket specialist at each booth collecting cash or credit. This year, Beach Buzz will also occupy the concession stand. So they have done a wonderful job the last 2 years. So we were really excited for them to come back. They've really brought, tasty food and music and fun to the space. So we really enjoy them being there. We are also looking to have more food trucks at Lake Street this year because, we don't have anything over there. So last year we did bring in a food truck to accommodate some of the guests. So we are looking to have more. And also Marquette is looking to take a very aggressive approach in the trash pickup. So we will have recycling department. They'll pick up on Mondays, Wednesdays, and holiday weekends. And then we'll have Republic to pick up on Tuesdays and Fridays. And that's on top of my staff that's in charge of the wall to the street, to clearing all the trash in the grassy area, the shelters, and the lagoon space. So on top of, servicing the facility, we're responsible for that as well. And we'll make sure that we get out there and get it done.
That was another concern of mine in terms of picking up trash at the parks. We have not been able to get trash picked up at Tolston. And I don't know who we need to talk to about that, because the containers are just cans with no lids, no tops. And so, you know, people just throw trash in them, and they are not secure at all. And so I need to get some information in terms of how we plan to do that. Because especially if we're going to have a lunch program, we've got to be able to get rid of this trash, and I don't know how we're going to do it.
Okay, Councilwoman, if I can address that a little. Like I said, I am looking at trash cans. I realized the need for those. I was out at the parks and saw that same thing. The other thing is on your cutting schedule, if you look to the right-hand column, there is a trash pickup schedule actually attached to that. And I will enforce it with this crew that trash schedule is met.
Okay.
You good, Councilwoman?
Well, yeah.
I can only move forward, Councilwoman, and
I
get this done. And you know, if there's a call that comes in, you know, I address any complaint right away.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Jackson, as well. Thank you for that. Council members, do you have any questions related to anything that was delivered from Ms. Jackson, or any questions related to Marquette Park beach readiness?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I do have a question or a suggestion actually for Ms. Jackson and for Ms. Barber. You know, as it relates to parking out there in Marquette Park, you know, I think there's an opportunity that we are missing. Many people go out to the park and there's free parking along Oak Street. They don't have to pull into the paid parking area to enjoy that beach. And so looking forward, you know, I think it would be a good idea if we look at some type of metering system or something for parking along that Oak Street area, which is of course right, you know, south of the beach area. Suggestion to think about.
So we did look at that for more pay stations. So we are looking for that in the future.
Oops. Sorry. I'm back. Sorry, guys. Okay. So thank you for that, Ms. Jackson. We are going to move ahead if no other council members have any other questions. And so I did want to, this is Recreation, Park and Recreation and Culture. So we want to make sure that we also engage our Youth Service Bureau team members from the city of Gary. So Cedric, are you on? I can't see if you are or not.
Yes, I'm on.
You have your camera on? Okay, there you go. Perfect. And so, can you introduce yourself? Council members were not aware that we had a new member of the team. And so we are excited that we have someone in the position that is taking the rim of the Youth Service Bureau. And so we're excited to welcome you and then also hear about your plans. And if specifically, can you make sure that you address my Councilwoman Brown's concerns about the youth summer feed program? That will be great as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, my name is Cedric Riddle. I am the Director of Youth Services Bureau. I've been in this position for about 6 weeks now, so I'm fairly new, just like Mrs. Barber stepping in. Our summer feeding program will start June 14th and all the way until August 8th. So it's, not August 8th, August 6th. That's a Friday. It's going to be Monday through Friday. It is also from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. where we will serve breakfast and lunch. And in between the breakfast and lunch, we will have various activities for the participants to partake in. our summer feeding program is using the Genesis, Clark Road Genesis as providing the food for those 8 weeks. And those 8 weeks, those programs that we have consist of various arts and crafts activities, outside games, inside games, teaching them different sports, health and wellness, and gardening.
Okay. Do you want to also let us know any additional plans that you have related to programming outside of the food program for Youth Service Bureau? Any type of engagement with the community that you tentatively have planned at this time?
Yes, so today, this morning, actually, I attended the Mayor's Youth Summit Forum. We had, it was about 10 o'clock to about 1 today, where we spoke with young, energetic students about what they would like to see in the city, what they would like to happen, and let them come and speak and pose their questions. And me, the mayor, a few other people, names are still brand new to me, so forgive me. But I did have in place and spoke with those kids about programs that were going on, what we're trying to do and what we are going to do. So as of now, we do have for our female athletes, we are having a girls basketball league that is starting up June 1st. That would be Tuesdays and Thursdays up at the Hudson and Campbell. And I pitched something with Miss Angela Hamlin about doing a pro-am with her for our female athletes also. We have different programs that we're doing with the, me and Miss Starks, Miss Shanita Starks are going over grants and everything to work with the various programs that we're trying to implement in the city for the youth. So it's not, as of now, we have set in stone just the basketball things, but we also have some social emotional learning things we're doing. We're having the summer, the Mayor's Youth Employment Initiative going on. We have the Summer Youth Scholarship Fund also that, to my knowledge, I don't have a lot of information on, but the information I do have would be the Hard Rock Casino is donating an X amount of dollars to the Mayor's Youth Initiative to provide scholarships for kids that are going to college. And we have, as of now, like I said, I'm just in my 6th week. So I'm trying to do a lot of things that impact our youth through this summer and get them more engaged.
Okay. Well, where are they going to play basketball? Are they going to play out at Colliston, or are they going to play somewhere else?
No, that is going to be, those tournaments are going to be held at the Hudson and Campbell.
Okay.
Yes, inside the main level gym.
Okay. Okay.
Madam Chair, it's my turn.
Sure, if you want it to be your turn.
Mr. Riddle, how are you doing today?
How you doing?
Doing good. I was down at City Hall today, and I want to congratulate you first and foremost. You know, I was sitting in the parking lot at City Hall, and I heard Jeff on WLTH, which I listen to quite often, you know, talk about the program that you all had today and how successful it was, how engaged the young people were in that program. And I just want to congratulate you all on that success. It was absolutely wonderful to hear that.
Thank you.
Secondly of all, I want to ask you a question about your summer feeding program. Is your summer feeding program tied into the Department of Education?
Is it? Yes.
Okay. The reason I ask, and which I probably can help you out tremendously, from 2006 until 2009, I was the former director of the Youth Services Bureau. All right.
Okay.
And we ran a summer feeding program as well, where we fed we passed out over 64,000 lunches over an 8-year period. We had it at various pavilions. We had it at various park sites. We had it at the churches. We had it at anywhere that they were offering vacation Bible school. And have you all reached out in that manner, or are you just isolated to one location?
Well, currently we are isolated to one location because due to COVID-19 protocols and rules and regulations, we are not distributing to multiple locations. We're pretty much a closed site where we have registration and everything for the kids to sign up. So we have to keep a tally of our numbers. But to answer your question, yes, well, no, we're not distributing to different churches and places. We're just inside where it's going to be only at Tolliston Park Pavilion.
Another question I have for you, the Youth Services Bureau. We have basically two Youth Services Bureau within the city of Gary. We have, of course, ours through you, and we also have the Youth Services Bureau in Miller, which is better known as the Crisis Center, because youth services is basically delinquency prevention. That's the whole premise of it. Now, the reason I mentioned that is because we, as a city entity, we lost our state grant. We were tied into the State Youth Services Bureau at one point in time. And sometime after I left, I want to say maybe 2011, 2012, we lost that state grant. That grant was approximately $50,000 that they paid us on an annual basis. And of course, there were certain criteria that we had to reach, provide in terms of what we were doing so far as delinquency prevention. Just wondering, do you know anything about that? And if so, are you trying to reconnect with the state's Youth Services Bureau, which would include, I would say, probably about 40 other youth service bureaus across the state?
So currently, no, I do not know anything about what is happening, what has happened in the past. Like I keep reinstating, this is only my 6th week in, so I am just trying to move forward with what we can and what we can do. And so moving forward, yes, we are going to try and get those funds back, trying to start with that with the fall. We're doing the application now because that is open season. And we, just trying to move forward and get that program back in good standing where we can move forward in a positive light.
That's good.
Well, I asked you that, Ms. D, give him my personal number. Make sure you give him my personal number. I'm here, for whatever insight, whatever I can do to help you move that bureau back in the direction in which it used to be. So
okay.
I'm
I will
here
give him your number, and I am familiar with the history of that. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Okay. Councilman Williams.
Thank you. Cedric.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Riddle. Yes, sir. How you doing?
How you doing?
Yeah, I want to congratulate you. I know we spoke at the honoring of the West Side Boys when the council came in, the basketball team. I'm sorry about that. I know your history. I know you do a great job. And congratulations, sir.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Any other council member?
Yes, Madam Chair.
That Mike Brown, Councilman Brown.
Yep. How you doing? Once again, I want to thank you for my vice president for doing such a fantastic job with our meeting and information and how organized it was. And I'm so glad to see that you're getting everything back on track, because it's important for us to support all our parks, and I think this is the right direction to do it.
Yeah.
I applaud all the council people, because I know you have different facilities in your district, and I heard all the concerns, and I know eventually we'll get all of them taken care of. I believe that. And I want to congratulate the new Youth Services Bureau director. I did have a question. He did say that they were only going to be doing it at one site. So would it be a site where the children can register and then would they pick up the lunch and continue, or is it a site where it's going to be social distancing? Because I noticed that our county commissioners, effective June 1st, they are not making it mandatory that you wear a mask inside the county building. I think they're leaving that up to the various office holders. So I see where the country's going in a direction where there being more outdoor activities, if you've had the vaccination, things like that. So I'm trying to figure out how we can reach as many youth as possible, because the one thing for sure, people get hungry, all of us do. We're fortunate that we are in a position that we can eat. So what I'd like to be, notified about and find out is what are we going to do to reach more youth, since there's only one location? Are you going to have a way where they can come by and pick up the lunches, and who's providing them? Thank you so much for giving me a chance to ask the question.
Mr. Cedric, do you want to answer that question?
Yes, I can. Clark Road Genesis is the company that's going to be providing the lunches. We will have social distancing inside because one, we don't know if every kid is, going to get vaccinated, or every person. So we will have social distancing and protocol is set.
Madam Chair.
Councilman Brown.
Okay, thank you. I know Clark Road Genesis is a great non-for-profit organization. We've done great things with them in the past. I think that's awesome. But I'm still trying to get back to how can you get more of our youth fed? Or do you have some kind of system to get them to the food? Or it's only just those at that site? I mean, it's sort of like with the school system, they had sites where, kids could come get their food on a weekly basis. I'm just trying to figure out, how do we take care of those, the ones who we have to be a voice for? How do we help them?
Well,
go ahead, Ms.
Go ahead, Ms. Adkins.
I was just going to say this, Councilman Brown. You know what? And maybe I might be speaking prematurely, but I think we might have. Think that might be like a strategy that we need to work on for next summer, because of us being so close to that open window. And you're right. I don't know if there was ever a process to get the students or get the youth to the actual site. However, years ago, when I did work for the city, and there was a more robust summer feed program through Youth Service Bureau, the sites were at the schools. We had recreation as well as the summer feed program. And then that was also a summer job for youth as well, right? And so the locations were at the schools as well as some of the park pavilions. And so definitely need to receive that. And so, Mr. Cedric, that might be something that, we can kind of work on, especially as COVID is starting to diminish in terms of an issue and a constraint for us. And then after you get your numbers for this particular initiative, to see what will be the strategy to increase our outreach to improve the distribution across the full city and not just at one location. And that's something that we can, all stakeholders can kind of work on collective to help support you in that effort moving forward.
Right.
Councilwoman Adkins.
Councilwoman Barnes-Caldwell.
Yes, we are having summer school this summer. So we are spreading it out. Banneker at Marquette, West Side, Glen Park Academy. That may be all. I'm not sure. But those spots throughout the city, if you even set up in their parking lots at a certain time, like the schools did, you may be able to service more. Just a thought.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Weatherspoon again. I want to talk money. I want to talk money. Now, next year we can expand this program. I have great ideas as to how you can expand it by getting into the schools, by partnering with the school system, the whole 9 yards. But with your program being ran through the Department of Education, there's a cost factor to each and every lunch. How much are we paying for the lunches? In addition to that, we also made a small amount off of each lunch that we distributed. That check was given to us by the Department of Education. So what is the cost for each lunch, and how much are we to receive off of each lunch after the cost has been paid?
Okay, so for this summer right now, Clark Road Genesis is pretty much waiving that fee for us. So it's free of us. They just asked for a small donation, which we took taken care of for them. So currently there is no fee, there is no monetary gain at the moment because of how, I want to say, for lack of better words, how close of a deadline we were to getting this done. Spoke with our food task manager. I was about to say Ms. Barbara, Ms. Brenda McMillian, and we were just on a roll of trying to get this done, trying to get this forward, so we can provide food for our youth in the yes, and move forward to provide so we could get this rolling. So now in the fall, now that it is open for our applications to take care of for the fall, we will move forward with that. But as of now, we don't have, it's pretty much free of charge for us to just making a small donation to Clark Road Genesis for providing that food for us.
Okay, well, coming this fall, there is also a fall feeding program as well. And that fall feeding program is tied directly into the Department of Education. And they pay for the lunches, so they'll pay for the fall feeding. And from that, we will also receive a small stipend for each lunch that we distribute, throughout to young people throughout the community. So again, I ask you to get with me so we can talk about this, and I can get you directed into the way you need to go, so we can make that money, man, and provide jobs as well. Council Lady Adkins probably worked for me in the summer feeding program.
No, I did not. I did not work for you.
I
did not.
I had a whole lot of them that worked for me. So just get with me, please, because we can really enhance that program.
Right,
yes, we would definitely get together.
You all can take that offline, and that would be great to work on together. Lastly, Mr. Cedric, was there anything else that you want to provide? Keep in mind that this is also a tool for you to communicate to the public as well, not just the council members.
Yes, indeed. At the moment, that is all for me.
Okay. Good Roosevelt grad. I'll give him that.
Indeed.
Don't hold it against him.
Okay, so we appreciate you joining us this evening. We look forward to working with you, all members of the council, not only Councilman Weatherspoon. I would like to say all, at least 8 members of the council will be here to support any initiative that you have. So as you receive those updates on those programs that you're working on, I think specifically in my interest, you mentioned the Mayor's Youth Employment Initiative. Please make sure that you get back to us when you're ready, just to give us information, and then we could be a tool for you to get that information out to the constituent bases across our districts.
Yes.
Will do.
Okay. I'm not sure if Miss Christine Williams is still with you, Ms. D. Barbara, but if she is, I wanted to also give her an opportunity not just to speak about the needs of the Hudson and Campbell, but if there's any specific programming or initiatives that you all are working on. If not, no worries, but I did want to extend that opportunity to her as well.
We don't have we don't have a real big update. We do have programs that's starting to come back through the Hudson and Campbell. Most things are starting to move outside, but when it's cool outside, we do have the Little League baseball team that still practice there. We have the Steelers that come down to do track. Now it's becoming outdoor season, so now they're moving back out to outdoor. So I don't have a real big update. If anybody have any questions, I could answer those.
Just talk about membership. We do have membership opportunities, and we encourage our residents to become members of the Hudson and Campbell, right?
Yeah, yes, we do have different types of memberships. We have the Silver Sneakers program. We have for seniors. We do Silver Sneakers is not just for seniors. It goes through your health insurance. We have discounts for certain agencies like Methodist. City employees get a discount. It's mostly for, though, we have family memberships, but it's mostly 16 and up. And a lot of times people want to come and they have more of younger kids, but unless they're in a specific program, most of the memberships is for 16 and up.
Ms. Williams, for our seniors who might be interested in that Silver Sneaker program and might need assistance in connecting with their insurance, is there someone that they can call from the city to connect with for that support?
So yeah, they could come down to the Hudson Campbell, or they can call, and the number is 219-886-2814, and we can give them the information that they need to link up with their insurance.
Okay, repeat the number one more time.
219-886-2814.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Any questions for Mrs. Williams related to what she just gave out?
Council Lady, I do have one question for Ms. Williams. I hate to be hogging the show, but just got a lot of questions because I have a lot of I've had a lot of experience in these areas. Ms. Williams, we had a drowning out at the lake. It was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and it was because they claimed it was because we didn't have certain equipment out there in the lake, boys, or something like that. Do you remember that?
Talking about the Hudson Campbell.
Yeah, I know, but I just want to make sure we have this safety equipment out at the lake.
So we talked about the safety equipment at the beginning of the meeting, specifically for CPO 2021-16. Ms. D. Barber outlined the life-saving equipment that will be included in the purchase of that. Did you miss that?
No, I was speaking specifically about these buoys to go into the lake.
Yes, so okay, Ms. Webb.
Okay, so Councilman, we have ordered the buoys to be in place. So that is in the process now, and we hope to get those in place shortly. Kamisha has been in contact. I've made arrangements for the funding. That's all taken care of. The parts are on, they are on order, and they will be out this season.
Thank you.
Very good. Thanks for that update. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Council members specifically. Any members of the public? I'm going to stop sharing at this time. The only thing that was comments. So members of the public.
Madam Chair, if I could speak.
Anything to add, Officer Lilly, Detective Lilly? I want to give you the opportunity.
No, the chief pretty much spoke on what we needed and the tools that would be needed to help expand and on the safety issues as it relates to the beach. But what I also would like to mention, and I haven't heard during this meeting, and this is for all parks, is the safety as it relates to those parks. I did hear, I think it was Councilman Witherspoon mentioned lights. That's one thing that all parks definitely need to require are lights. And also being able to enforce the dawn till dusk policy as it relates to individuals being in the park after hours. So we're working out a plan to be able to do that for all of our active parks.
Thank you, Detective Lilly.
Detective Lilly, one question, and I'm glad you brought that up because I was saving that for the end of the meeting. And Attorney Colvin, maybe you might be able to help with this. What time do the polls? What is the actual official time period for the closing of the parks? Number one. Number two, can we get signage related to the closing of those parks in the parks? And number three, Detective Lilly, and I'm sorry the chief is not here, I think it would help and add to a greater enforcement in the park because nothing good is happening in those parks after 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. And I think it would give, a little bit more help with the officers and just driving through, shining a light through there, making sure that no one is there.
So as it relates to the time, there's no specific time period because, of course, we know over the period of days, they get longer and they get shorter as we go throughout the year. So the rule and the ordinance is from dawn until dusk. So once the sun starts setting, that is when the parks are to be cleared. And once the sun is set and it's dark, then that's the indication where individuals need to vacate the parks. As it relates to signage, I think that's something that we could get with. I'll speak with Ms. Barber in reference to that. I think we have a plug within the city where we could get signs done and have those put out at the various parks.
Thank you, sir.
Madam Chair.
Lilly.
Madam Chair, I have a question for Ms. Barber.
Yes,
Ms. Barber,
we can hear you, Councilman Williams.
can you hear me? Okay, great. Signage that we're discussing, will that be related to no trespassing after the hours once the park's closed? Can you hear me?
I mean, I can hear you. I don't know what kind of signage you want. We can review that. And what we would do is just have it maybe baked in-house for traffic. I guess Kamisha or Officer Lilly could just let me know what they need as far as the signs.
Right.
I don't know if you can do the no trespassing, Officer Lilly. You want to comment there?
So as it relates to
the no trespassing is for, I'm sorry about that. The no trespassing is for both parts, even the ones, but mainly for the ones that we're not actually utilizing, the ones that pretty much we're considering closed. Will those be signage? Will signage what they're saying no trespassing?
Detective Lilly, let me just chime in on clarity. When I talk about signage, I'm just talking about signage saying that the park closes at a certain hour. When you go to Chicago, there are signs up on the park, particularly along the lakefront, and those signs tell you the park's closed at a certain hour. And it's just simply a sign saying, hey, vacate when that time comes around.
And I'm making reference to the parks that we're not looking at as those dual parks to cut back on the loitering that will take place in those parks. Can we post any signs in those parks saying no trespassing?
I mean, we can talk about posting them. We haven't decided that, but we can talk about posting and no trespassing if they're going to actually be closed. We haven't decided all of that.
Well, yes,
Williams, that's something that we could, again, we can take that offline, work with the leaders at the park department to, develop a strategy. And maybe it's one and the same, right? So the same sign that has the information about open and close, and then you have, a disclaimer at the bottom about trespassing after hours and how that's prohibited. And so I believe that would be the way that the city of Gary will handle that for all locations that,
Correct. All locations, yes.
Correct. Thank you, Councilman Williams. Officer Lilly, was you finished? Just wanted to make sure.
Yes, ma'am, that was it. I just wanted to bring up the safety aspect of all the parks.
And thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for your insight and joining us this evening. At this time, I am going to give an opportunity to members of the public. Mr. George, I do know that you wanted to make some comments, and so at this time, you can proceed with your comments.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, and forgive me if you hear some background noise. I'm at a baseball game right now at Roosevelt. My only comment, really, well, a couple of comments. Number one, I definitely understand the needs of the Parks Department and the folks at the beach to have the safety equipment that they need in order to properly take care of visitors. However, I am still speaking in opposition to the amount that is allocated. I appreciate the fact that some has been reduced and reallocated to some of the other parks, but I just think that, if we were to take 15,000, we could take care of all of the broken backboards around the city. There's been references to the parks plan, the master plan. And if any of you who are familiar with it recognize the things that citizens have talked about is the amenities and the broken amenities and the fact that folks don't visit these parks because of the fact that they see that things are in disrepair. So I would just encourage, I'm not opposed to the folks at the beach getting that, but Councilman Godwin, in one of the last meetings, spoke about equity. And to me, equity is making sure that all resources are distributed equally. And my last point is, last year we were told about the revenue from last year from Marquette. Was that a surplus? Was that a deficit? And what's the requirement for the the Marquette Fund to use their own investment from their own dollars to purchase equipment, as opposed to using resources from the Parks Department that are really scarce and far and few between? Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Mr. George. Okay, Ms. Kemp, if you want to make comments at this time, I will allow you to make a comment. You have to unmute yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. So basically, Mr. George did bring up a couple points.
If you can turn on your camera too, Ms. Kemp, that's
sorry?
You can turn on your camera while speaking to the council.
Oh, do I have to?
We would appreciate that.
Mhm. Hello, everybody. So, Mr. George brought up a couple points. The first thing that I wanted to mention is that Ambridge Man Park, once that the grass has been cut and it looks presentable, my question is, how do we entertain the community? When you go to our park, we don't have a shelter. We don't have a playground. Our basketball courts, the backboards are broken out. So for me, our committee, we're committed to getting the community back out there. And I understand that money is an issue. I understand that you all don't have a lot of money. But just as we spoke about funds being allocated fairly across each district, that would help us as well. If we can have the support of the city to be able to help us to rejuvenate our parks and have something for our kids to go to. Because once the grass is cut, all we're left with an Ambridge is just a basketball court that is not viable. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Kemp, for your comments. Okay. We made it through, y'all. So I want to say that I appreciate all stakeholders who are part of this. We all know that the city of Gary Parks, it is in, I don't want to say disarray, but it's a project, right? And so these changes that we need to make will not happen overnight. It's not going to happen in this season, the summer season. However, what we do now have is leaders who are committed to making that change. And so as the chair of this particular committee and my council members who are also a part of this committee, Councilman Mike Brown, as well as Councilman Dwight Williams, we will ensure to work in tandem with our park leadership, our interim park leadership, as we try to hold on to it as long as we can, the administration, as well as the Gary Park Board, to make sure that no park is left behind, right? And so though the bulk of this conversation has been about one ordinance, we are not sticking to the fact that that's the only money that this city will have. The city is on the up and up, and we will be making sure that any additional revenue that we generate and it's fair to allocate towards the parks, we will get our parks up and running. So I do want to make the residents confident in the leadership of this team and making sure that we are aware of that, and we'll be working together to make that happen. If there's any other comments from our team members, our council members, administration, any leaders of the city, we good to go? All right. I appreciate y'all's time. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
We good to go? All right. I appreciate y'all time. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.